that correct? Shalom Aleichem. Tonight we're going to be learning the Sikha in Chelek Yud Beis Parshas Acharei Mois, part of the project Likutei Sichos, this amazing initiative by a few shluchim, Yungelait, to gather as many Yidden, Chassidim, Bochrim, Noshim B'Tav to partake in learning these few Sichos every single week, and in Mitzvah Shem to be able to learn through the whole Likutei Sichos. So tonight's year we're going to learn the Sikha of Parshas Acharei. It's actually an amazing Sikha with the Rebbe's Medayik in many different Lashonos in the Pirush Rashi, in today's Chitas, incidentally, Hashgacha Protis, with the Rebbe's beautiful beard. I was zeiche to ask my father, Zolzain Gesund und Stark, who gave me just a few little tidbits of some insights of some words and minyonim that the Rebbe added and changed in this Sikha that I will hopefully be able to share with you. So we'll begin. Rashi bepirushi ala psukim. Rashi on the pirush on the psukim in today's in Parshas Acharei in today's Chitas. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'amartu aleim ani Hashem Elokeichem. The Eibishter tells Moshe Rabbeinu to speak to the Yidden and tell them ani Hashem Elokeichem k'maasei eretz Mitzrayim asher yishavtem bo lo yisasu. Do not act like the Mitzrim, like the Egyptians act, whom you have just exited, who you just left Mitzrayim. So Rashi is Maitik Esatevas Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Rashi quotes the words in the Dibra Mascha Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Mefarish, what does Ani Hashem Elokeichem mean? Anihu she'amarti b'Sinai. I'm the one who said in Har Sinai, Onoichi Hashem Elokeichem, Elokecha, v'kibaltem aleichem malchusi, and you accepted my malchus, my kingship, my kingdom as a melech during Matan Torah. Me'ato kabelu gzeiroisai, and now I'm telling you to accept my gzeiros, my decrees. That's why it says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Rabbi Rabbeinu HaKodesh says, Pshat in the Pasuk is the following. Golui v'yodu alefonov. It's revealed to Hashem, Sheseifon lenatik ba'arayis b'mei Ezra, that eventually, Rachmana litzlan, many of the Yidden will cut themselves off, or their children off, from Yiddishkeit, from the Eibishter, through the Aveda of Arayis, of marriages which are forbidden, which is exactly what the Torah talks about right after these psukim, this pasuk of K'masei Eretz Mitzrayim and Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Lefichach bo aleim b'gzeira. That's why Hashem begins with gzeira. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. You should know that I'm Hashem, meaning du'u mi goizer aleichem. You should know who is the one who's telling you what to do. Hashem. You have to listen. Dayon lihipora. He's the judge who punishes, but also v'nemon l'shalem schar, and he certainly will also give schar, give reward when someone keeps his mitzvahs. The Rebbe is obviously medayik, just a side point in the ha'orah, why it says Golav Yedu Alefonov. Obviously, it's only revealed to Hashem, because if the Yidden would know the future, that would be a problem with free choice that every single Yid is supposed to have in order to be able to get schar, the oynish. Therefore, Rashi added the word Lefonov to make sure that it wasn't Golav Yedu to the Yidden. This is what Rashi says, the basic pshat, Pshutei Shel Mikra, for Ben Chomesh Mikra, in the Pasuk, Biur of Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Says the Rebbe, Habir HaPoshut Pirush Rashi, Poshut Pshat in Rashi, L'cha'era Einei Muvan. Mai HaKavona B'tzivoi Zeh sheMoshe Yedaber al Bnei Yisrael v'Yodiem ki Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Why does Moshe Rabbeinu and Hashem, for that matter, find it necessary right here to tell the Yidden Ani Hashem Elokeichem? Ma HaChidush Bozeh. What's the Chidush? La'achar sheyitziyim HaKadosh Baruch Hu miMitzrayim. After Hashem took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, v'noson lehem es HaTorah, gave them the Torah. So why does it begin here, this parsha, with Ani Hashem Elokeichem? Rashi explains, this is not a tzivoy, a commandment, an independent individual commandment similar to Anochi Hashem Elokeichem. Oh, the Aseres HaDibros, we have 10 dibros. The first one is Anochi Hashem Elokeichem, Achdus Hashem. And the Eibishter is Anochi Hashem Elokeichem. That's the first one. So we might think this is similar. Ani Hashem Elokeichem says, Rashi, no. It's a hakdama, ki im betur hakdama, l'mashe kosav achar. It's an introduction to what the Torah says afterwards. Why is that? Since you already accepted Hashem's malchus during Matan Torah, Hashem is saying, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, now's the time to accept the gzeiros, the following mitzvahs that I'm going to teach you concerning arayos. Rashi adds a second shot. Since eventually the Yidden are going to sin with arayos, And that's why Hashem begins as an introduction to tell the Yidden that it's forbidden with the following arayos. This is basic pshat and Rashi. Says the Rebbe, we still need to understand. In the beginning of Parshas Va'era, al pasuk, when Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Ani Hashem, and Moshe in turn tells this over to the Yidden, obviously it's in the Torah. We have the same question. Why does the parsha begin with Ani Hashem? So Rashi already explained to us over there, what does it mean, Ani Hashem? Ani Hashem, as Hashem is telling Klal Yisrael, you should know, I'm the one that is trustworthy, that I will give the proper reward to those who follow Hashem's ways. And etc. And chas v'shalom, if someone doesn't follow Hashem's ways, he will be punished. Says Rashi. Rashi says this particular lashon expression of Ani Hashem, we darshan it in many places throughout the Torah. What does Ani Hashem mean? Ne'emon li pora, Hashem will punish, and ne'emon li tinschar. That's what the general basis of Ani Hashem or Ani Hashem Alekeichem refers to. So says the Rebbe, v'im kein muva, it's obvious. Shekocha yesh lefarish gam bepasuk dilan. That's obviously the same shot over here. Why does Hashem begin with Ani Hashem Alekeichem? Obviously, you're saying you should know I'm going to punish and I'm going to reward, which is in fact what the Rebbe says. But he adds a whole extra knetch, an extra word that Hashem knows the future, that they're going to sin with Harayis eventually. But regardless, you should know who I am, and I'm going to punish and I'm going to give reward. Ani Hashem, nemol lipora, v'nemol l'shalom schar. Ubefrat, sherashi ba'atzmei madgishom. Rashi himself writes in Va'era, ubeloshen hazeh, motzinu shu nidresh b'kama mekaymis. That this is the pshat in many places. So why does Rashi not rely on what he already said in Parshas Va'era, that that's the pshat here? Or even if he wants to explain it as he does for whatever reason on numerous occasions, let him explain that over here as the only pshat. Afal Pikei, nevertheless, Aleph medayik Rashi bozeh kan oidapam. Rashi brings it again in Rabbi's pshat. V'ikir mefarshoi ba'ifan acher, and then he brings the first pshat as a totally different pshat. A whole story that because during Matan Torah you accepted Malchusi, now you're accepting Zeroisa, as if this is a new introduction, a new idea that we never had with Ani Hashem Alekeichem. Beis, Ma'u bepashtus inyonim inyin kablu Malchusi, zulas kabbalas hagzeides v'amitzvus. What does it mean that during Matan Torah we only accepted Hashem's Malchus and not mitzvahs? Haritoichem kabbalas Malchus hu shemekabel al atzmei kol asher yitzav hamelech. The basic premise of a melech is that you have to listen to him. So when the Yidden were mekabel the malchus of the Eibishter during Matan Torah, basically they accepted Hashem to listen to him. Ukidemashma pirush Rashi gufa ala posuk. Rashi meviye kan onoichi Hashem alekecha. As Rashi teaches us in posuk in Parshas Yisrei, by onoichi Hashem alekecha, Rashi says asher etzisicha me'eretz Mitzrayim. What does that mean? Kedai yahitzo. I took you out of Mitzrayim in order that the Yid should be meshubed to Hashem. What does that mean? That Anochi Hashem Alekecha means Hashem is telling Yidden you're meshubed. Meshubed basically means you have to listen. What does it mean, Kabbalas HaMalchus? That you have to listen, you're meshubed to Hashem. Lavei des Hashem bekiyum mitzvaysav bepoil, to actually follow what Hashem wants. That's the pshat, the basic pshat of Kabbalas HaMalchus. Now, it's true that Al Pi Kabbalah and Al Pi Soid, there are different inyonim from Kabbalas HaMalchus and Kabbalas HaGzeiros v'chulu. But in basic pshuti shel mikra, they seem to be the same thing. As Rashi explains earlier in Parshas Yisrei, there are certain parashas in the Torah that if a Yid does them, he receives schar. V'im lav, eina mekabel paronis. And if he doesn't listen, then he's not going to get punished, but he's also not going to get schar. In fact, the Gemara in Kiddushin lists a whole bunch of inyonim in the sugya of Tanai Kofel, which Bashgacha Pratis in the yeshivas were learning why, according to certain shittas, the Torah had to repeat certain mitzvahs and certain inyonim for this particular reason. Because I would have thought that if you don't keep the mitzvah, you don't get agra, you don't get schar, but you also don't get punished. So Hashem says, Yochel af aseres hadibris, and you might think the aseres hadibris are similar to those mitzvahs. that if you don't keep them, it's neutral. You don't get schar, but you don't fall back. You don't get punished. Talmud Loimar, the pasuk says, no, you should know Hashem is going to punish us. That's the pshat in Matan Torah. That Hashem's idea of telling us the Aseret Adibris is you have to listen. Vikan mechalkom. Suddenly here, Rashi splits as if by Matan Torah we were only mekabel. We were only mekabel the malchus. Me'ata kabelu gzeiroisai. And now Hashem is saying you should be mekabel the gzeiris. So what is these two stages of Kabbalas HaMalchus and Kabbalas Gzeiris? Ule idoch gise, on the other hand, im Kabbalas HaMitzvahs hu inyan bifnei atzmei, the Kabbalas HaMalchus lechut, is im kein ho yitzorich liyas bo hatzivu the Kabbalas HaMitzvahs, koidem shenitztavu b'nei Yisrael b'mitzvah rishayna. Says the Rebbe Poshet Ezach, he says, if for whatever reason you're going to explain to me that Matan Torah was Kabbalas HaMalchus, and now Hashem is saying you should also be mekabel my mitzvahs, shouldn't this Ani Hashem Elokeichem been before the first mitzvah? We have so many mitzvahs up until Parshas Acharei. Tens of mitzvahs. And suddenly over here Hashem tells us to be mekabel the gzeiros, as if up until this point the Yidden didn't have to keep the mitzvahs, because they were only mekabel malchus, whatever that means. And suddenly now from Arayis and onward, from Parshas Acharei and onward, middle of Parshas Acharei and onward, now Hashem says kabelu gzeiros. It seems strange. It has to be, it's obvious that the Yidden had to keep Hashem's mitzvahs from Matan Torah and onward. So why would Hashem, based on Rashi's pirush over here, by this mitzvah, by this group of mitzvahs, suddenly tell us kabelu gzeiros? Dalit, ma'u diuk loshen Rashi, me'ato kabelu gzeiros. Suddenly over here the loshen is gzeira. We don't usually find the word by the Torah, by the mitzvahs, gzeira. We find mitzvahs, edus, chukim, mishpatim. Gzeira usually is for the chachamim. That's usually where the word gzeira. Obviously, you can use the word gzeira for certain mitzvahs, chukim l'mashal. You could refer to as a gzeira. But l'maisa, usually the word gzeira is for the chachamim. I'm sorry. As Rashi writes it in many places. Hey, the duper kama pomim. The Rebbe says, I explained many times, whenever Rashi brings two pshatim, be'inyan echad, in one inyan, usually the pshat is that each pshat is not 100% smooth in pshut shel mikra, and Rashi therefore requires to bring a second pshat. But the second pshat is also not smooth enough, and that's why he has to bring a first pshat. Because they're both addressing a separate inyan. Each one of these pshatim is pshat pshuti shel mikra. You could say, for whatever reason, you could explain why Rashi says that you were mekabel malchusi and now you're kabel gzeiros, and also the pshat of Rabbi Yomer. So why does he bring both? Choose one. Why did Rashi bring both pirushim? Vov, kein meduber kama pomim. Also, the Rebbe says, we explained many times, shebechlal ein Rashi b'pirushay maskir shem bal hamemre shel hapirush hamuva. Rashi usually does not bring the name of the Tana Amoira whom he's quoting. The time poshut ain't in negeh l'pshuti shel mikra, because Rashi only wrote words that are negeh to pshat, and usually it doesn't matter who's the bal hamemre who said it. Umizeh, if that's true. When Rashi does indeed bring the name of the Baal HaMemre, the one who said the Maimer Chazal, so it's obvious that if Rashi does feel it necessary to bring, must be that it's Negeya to Pshute Shel Mikra. It adds some Havana in Pshute Shel Mikra, and the Rebbe usually uses the Lashon for a Talmid Memulach, a sharp Talmid, to be able to figure out what the name of the Baal HaMemra would add to the Pshat. What does it help in the understanding of the Pshat? The fact that the one who brings the second Pirush was Rabbeinu HaKodesh, Rabbi. Zayin, many questions that Rebbe asks on this Rashi. Usually the Lashon, the terminology we use concerning an Aveda is La Avoid, to transgress, Likoshel, to slip up. Rashi suddenly here writes the word lenatek, to get cut, uprooted, pulled out, so to speak. ba'arayis. It's a weird, interesting lashon that's not usually used. It should have said they're going to sin with arayis. They're going to be nichshol in arayis. What does it mean, lunatic? Ches, pirusha shorashi, mekoirei b'toiras kohenim ala pasuk. Rashi, obviously, most of his pshatim are taken from Gemara, from Medrash. This one is in fact from Toiras Kohenim. Aval shom bevayed, but there, when it brings Rebbe's pshat, it says like this: V'chein motzinu shenitku ba'arayis. We find that the Yidden sinned in arayis. Shenemar, Hayishma Moshe sa'am beichel mishpachosav. Moshe, when he came down from Har Sinai by the Chet HaEgel, and he saw that they were crying lemishpachosav, about their mishpachos. And Rashi explains over there, one of the pshatim, the mishpachosav literally means they were crying groups, standing like groups. So the pshat is that they were upset al iske mishpachos. They were upset about the sin of arayis. So that's one place that they were misnatic from arayis. Then he brings the second pshat, the second time, by Ezra, which Rashi quotes, Malachi Omer lehem, the Malach Malachi said, V'zois shein istasu kasois dimo, and this is what you're going to do. The Aveda of Arayis and the Mizbeach is going to be filled with tears, it says, and the Yidden sinned with Arayis. Rashi matik rak zeh shemotzinu b'mei Ezra shehu Malachi, v'lo b'mei Moshe. And for some reason, Rashi only brings the case of the Yidden that are becoming lenatic b'Arayis, the story of Ezra, and he doesn't bring what's brought in Chumash, right? Shortly after the story of Boicha l'mishpachosav, shortly before, of Boicha l'mishpachosav. The story of Boicha l'mishpachosav was much later in Parshas Bahaloischa. By the story of later by the Slav and that whole story there. Rabbi Yoser Yiksha says the Rebbe, even more is shveh. Rashi atzmei mefarish ala pasuk Boicha l'mishpachosav. Rashi clearly teaches over there by Boicha l'mishpachosav. Rabbi Seinu Omru l'mishpachosav meant al iske mishpachos al arayis hanesoris lahem, that the Yidden were crying and upset that they received the mitzvahs and the avedas concerning arayis of who one is allowed to marry and who not. Says the Rebbe, v'shovik Rashi hadugme masheira be'oisei hadoy. Rashi leaves, does not bring the example which happened shortly after in that generation of the Yidden, who were the Yidden in the Midbar, zman hakorev la'amidas haparsha, shortly, close in time to the time of when this parsha was said. Umevi, when does he bring shesoifon lenatik ba'arayis b'mei Ezra, that eventually they're going to sin with arayis ke'elef shonim la'achri, 1,000 years, around 1,000 years later. So the Rebbe really asks two questions. Number one, the Medrash brings both. So why doesn't Rashi bring both? And if Rashi is choosing one of them, why choose the one that happened much, much later? If he could have chose the Boicha l'mishpachosav, which happened shortly after in that doyer to the Yidden when they were upset about arayis. Now, learning this sikha, the obvious question one might ask is, l'cha'oira, they didn't sin with arayis. Boicha l'mishpachosav, they were upset about sinning with arayis. So you can't say that Hashem told them, Golav Yedu Alefonov, because they would have a machshava to do an aveda. Normally, we know a machshava ra eina kodesh baruch hu mitzaref l'maisa. If someone has a bad machshava, Hashem doesn't translate it and consider it as if he did the aveda. Concerning aveda zora, it says leman tfois es beis Yisrael belibam, that Hashem will punish machsheves aveda zora as well, thinking about aveda zora, but other avedas not. So it's possible that that's why Rashi didn't bring the story of Boicha l'mishpachosav, because they were only upset. So for that, we're going to learn Ha'ara 16, part of the Ha'ara, in the middle of Ha'ara 16. The ein latare it's shemikivon shalei ovru oz al isur arayis ki im bochu al isur lo yitochem loymar shebishvil ze yovei aleim bigzedo. It's possible, why don't we answer that the reason why Rashi didn't bring it, because they didn't actually sin. They were upset. They were angry, so to speak, about the Aveda. Says the Rebbe that a muchrach shegam ze inyan chomer b'yoseh. That can't be, because the machshava of the Yidden at that time, and likewise today, of Boicha l'mishpachosav, of being even upset about arayis, is a very terrible sin. The Acharei, how do we know that? B'shvil zeh, it says, Vayichar af Hashem ma'oid uve'enei meishero. It says over there, Hashem was very upset at the Yidden. And Hashem was angry at the Yidden. Why? Because they had a machshava of arayis. So it's obvious that at that time, the Boicha l'mishpachosav was a very, very terrible aveda for the Yidden. So therefore, the Rebbe's question returns, indeed, why did Rashi not quote that raya that the Medrash brings? I want to point out in this sif one or two things that the Rebbe changed or added. Number one, when the Manichim wrote this Sikha, so they made it as a one question. Pirush Rashi is based on the Teiras Koyanim and the story of Bimei Ezra, Bimei Moshe, and then it continued, instead of Ubeyoser Yiksha, it said V'harei Rashi Taiches Mefadish Ala Posuk Boichel Mishpechosov. Indeed, what the Medrash means, Alishke Mishpechos. And the Rebbe took out the V'harei Rashi and he wrote in Ubeyoser Yiksha Sherashi Atzmai. Kilu, it's an extra question. Number one, the first point of the question is that it's enough the fact that the Medrash brought both. Why didn't Rashi bring both? Question. Why did Rashi choose Ezra over Boichel Mishpechosov? And the second question is that l'chayre it would be better to bring Boichel Mishpechosov, the story, because that was in a later period of a recent, close to the time of when the Yidden heard these mitzvahs and these dinim of Arayis. That's the first point that Rebbe changed in this paragraph. And also, the Rebbe changed, it says, V'shovik Rashi hadugme mashe'ire be'oisei hadoir. That Loshen, the Rebbe fixed and mostly wrote, V'shovik Rashi hadugme mashe'ire be'oisei hadoir, because the Manichim didn't stress that it was be'oisei hadoir. They just stressed that Rashi doesn't bring the Aveda that happened Bizman HaKorev la'amidas HaParsha, a time that was close to Amidas HaParsha. And the Rebbe made sure to add here that it was Mashe'ira be'oisei hadoir. It happened to them themselves. Which the reason why the Rebbe is stressing that is because once it's in a future generation, one might add, L'may nafkimine, if it's 50 years, 100 years, or 1,000 years. L'chiyora, it's not me anyways. L'may nafkimine. So the Rebbe stresses to say it was these same Yidden, be'oisei hadoir, boichel mishpachosav aliske mishpaches, that they were upset and it was a terrible aveda for Arayis. And Rashi doesn't bring what happened be'oisei hadoir. What does he bring? Shesoifon underlined, the Rebbe underlined, and the Rebbe added the word ke'elef shonim. It said Rabbi is bashonim la'achriza, and the Rebbe changed it to ke'elef shonim la'ach. Ke'elef, he added the word ke'elef, because the Rebbe is showing the contrast that it could have been be'oisei hadoir, not just korev, because everything is relative. Korev could be 50, korev could be 100, korev could be 500, lefiyerech 2,000. But it was be'oisei hadoir, and Rashi brings a story with Ezra, which was ke'elef shonim la'achriza. So the Rebbe, after all these questions, says V'abir b'kol zeh, says like this: Af shekvar pirish Rashi b'reish parsha v'eira b'kavonas hakosav ani Hashem nemo l'shalem schar toiv l'mishalchim l'fonai v'chulu b'loshen hazeh motzinu shu nidrish b'kama mekaymis v'chulu. Although Rashi did tell us that it's true, ani Hashem alekeichem, generally we know it's nidrish b'kama mekaymis. We know the pshat. Ani Hashem to punish, ani Hashem to give reward. Rashi figures over here that can't be the pshat. Afal pikein shiny hocha, but down here it's not possible to be the pshat. Why? And the Rebbe says, "Amir in the kichap." Peter zeh you talking rak b'mokim shaloshin ani Hashem nemar b'siyume shel tziba. If you'll take a look in all the places, or almost all the places, where ani Hashem refers to this nekuda of I'm Hashem to punish and I'm Hashem to give schar, it's always at the end of a bunch or a mitzvah. Hashem to stress, by the way, it's very serious business. At the end, Hashem says, Ani Hashem, bedaki, Ani Hashem. Koloimar, neman ani l'shalom schar, I'll give you schar. V'neman ani l'pora, I'm also the one who's going to punish. V'omnam kein hu b'atzivuyim, she'aleim mechaven Rashi b'chloleim. That's where Rashi meant, u'beloshen hazeh, motzinu she'nidrish b'kama mekoimis. And Rashi's medayik to say, b'kama mekoimis, not kol ha-mekoimis, kama mekoimis. Because there are places that it doesn't necessarily mean this, for like here. As it's obvious from the psukim that Rashi does bring, that in all those places you'll see it's at the end. Now the pasuk in Va'ira is the beginning of a parsha. And Rashi, so Rashi explained over there, it sounds like it's a hakdama, it's a new inyan. Rashi explained over there that's not the pshat in Vayra. Elo diber itay mishpat. Hashem spoke very strict with Moshe, complaining to Moshe, so to speak. Al shehik shaladaber v'loimer. Why Moshe questioned Hashem by saying Loma hareyoisa Loma zeh. Hashem questioned the Eibishter, why are you bad to the Yidden chas v'shalom? The parsha hakodemes in the previous parsha, the end of parsha Shmos. Ubehemshich lo zeh. Va'era is the beginning of a parsha, but it's really a hemshich to the conversation that Moshe had with Hashem in Parsha Shmos. Hashem told Moshe, Ani Hashem koloimar. Why did you question my midos, my actions? Don't you know? Ani Hashem, don't you know that I'm the one who I'm going to reward? I know what I'm doing. Similarly, what it says in the pasuk after, a few psukim later, Hashem says, tell the Yidden Ani Hashem. Pirush Rashi, the same nekuda. What does Ani Hashem mean? You should know. I am trustworthy to I follow through with my promises. Also, it's not a new inyan, as if it would seem. Hashem is telling Moshe, tell the Yidden that everything that I told you before, you should know it's true. Ani Hashem, hu amavtiach, I promised, hu nemo l'kayim avtachosei. So what the Rebbe is basically saying is wherever it says Ani Hashem alekechem, it's usually at the end, including Pashas Va'era. As the Rebbe explains, it's a hemshech, it's not the beginning, although it seems the beginning. If Hashem begins Ani Hashem, that's like Aseres Adibris. I'm telling you something. Ani Hashem itself is telling you something. Till now, the pshat was Ani Hashem is not telling you anything new. The mitzvahs, I told you. By the way, you better listen because Ani Hashem. The Ani Hashem itself is not a tzivui. But if it's in the beginning, tell the Yidden, it would say, tell the Yidden, I'm Hashem. Ani Hashem. It's not the pshat. You can't say that Hashem is just saying, by the way, I'm Hashem who's going to punish. Punish for what? Give schar for what? He didn't tell you anything yet. It's like Anochi Hashem Alekecha on the Aseres Adibris. We know what Hashem means. You should know that Anochi Hashem Alekecha. He's not telling you that I'm going to give you a reward or to punish you for something that wasn't said yet. It's the beginning. There was nothing commanded to the Yidden that this mitzvah, this warning, better listen because I'll punish or give you a reward, should have what to be chal. What does the pasuk mean? What's Moshe Rabbeinu being told by Hashem to tell the Yidden? You should know that Hashem is Hashem. We know that. We were by Aseres Adibris. We know Hashem is Hashem. We were mekabel Hashem is Hashem. What's going on here? And before I continue, I'll tell you, it said here earlier, Manichim wrote ulefichach tzarich leimar. And by the way, while I'm at it, I want to point out that I didn't see the sikha. So therefore, I only have the few hagoyes that I was told. And I was listening when my father was telling me the hagoyes, how he was telling me certain hagoyes and other hagoyes he wasn't telling me because the sikha is full of many more hagoyes than what I'm going to tell you. I don't know them, but to just as a side note. So it said here, lefichach tzarich leimer. And the reason why, my father explained this to me, the Rebbe in the sikhs didn't usually like to write extreme lashonis. There's no other way. This is the only way. So they were trained already by the Rebbe. They wrote to lefichach. But here, the Rebbe crossed out lefichach, and he wrote va'al korchach. The Rebbe wanted to write here an extreme lashon. In other words, the idea that ani Hashem alekeichem, as a hakdama, it's impossible to mean nemol l'shalom schar and nemol lipora is al korchach. It's obvious. Tzarich leimer shani Hashem alekeichem loy nemar kan betur haschol l'apsukim shalachris. It's not an introduction, ki'ilu, you better listen to me, what I'm going to tell you soon. No. It's you should know I'm Hashem. Just like I said, this lashon is the same idea. This concept we already saw by Aseres Adibris. At the beginning, Hashem said, Hashem says, you need to accept me as Hashem. Problem. We already did. You can't accept Hashem twice. We already accepted Hashem's malchus. So what's going on here? It's obvious, says the Rebbe. Obviously, the Eibush is not telling the Yidden every few years or every few days, Anochi Hashem Alekecha. We have to say Anochi Hashem Alekecha. We have to continue remembering that Hashem is our Melech. We say Shema Yisrael Hashem Alekechem, Pamayim B'chol Yom, we're Mekabel the Malchus. But the Tzivui, the Ram Hashem, that you have to Mekabel the Malchus, that's once. Sherei Kvar Kiblu Aleim Malchus B'Sinai, as the Yidden accepted the Malchus by Sinai, V'gam Yev Shaloimar, Shakavona Hi LeKabolas HaMitzvos B'chlolos. It can't be that Hashem is telling them a general akdama. My malchus, you were mekabel. Mitzvahs, now you have to be mekabel. That's impossible. As the Rebbe, one of the kashas was. Part of Kabbalas HaMalchus is Kabbalas HaMitzvahs. And not only that, we said, if that was what Hashem wanted, to make the Yidden now be Mekabel mitzvahs, this would have been said before the first mitzvah. And the Lifnei Hatziva would have been before the first mitzvah. Was mitamol. Now suddenly Hashem remembered and says, by the way, keep my mitzvahs. You don't have to keep the other ones. So it has to be something unique, something different, something new, which is specific to the following mitzvahs. We have to figure what that is. Rashi to figure out what that is. The Medrash. It's something new, a new Kabbalah that was not existing until now. We have to find something unique about the following mitzvahs that didn't exist in any other mitzvahs. And also, it has to be that type of sug, that type of category of mitzvahs that we can assume that it's possible that the Yidden actually never were mekabel on Matan Torah. And now Hashem is saying, by the way, now you have to be mekabel. What is this? So Rashi uses a new word, kabelu gzeiroisai. Which Aveda does Hashem, which mitzvah / Aveda does Hashem tell us not to do? It's arayos. Should be gather gzeira. That Rashi says is gzeira. We're going to learn what that means later. If that's the next mitzvah, and Ani Hashem Alekeichem is similar to Aseres Adibris, to be mekabel something from Hashem, must be that Hashem is saying, now you need to be mekabel the idea of gzeiris. So till now the Yidden were mekabel malchus, they were mekabel mitzvahs, but they were never mekabel what we are going to refer to now as gzeiros, whatever that is. Now it's obvious. Rashi says, Hashem tells the Yidden, Ani Hashem Alekeichem, it's time to be mekabel gzeiros, and I'm going to teach you gzeiros now. Zoyse meres. Ima yois, shebemaimed arsina kiblu b'nei Yisrael al atzmon, l'kayim mitzvahs HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Although the Yidden were mekabel on themselves already by Matan Torah to listen to Hashem, kol mokim yesh mokim leimar, shelei kiblu oz ela mitzvahs ka'elum, shehem begeder she'aseichel soivlom. It's possible that the Yidden only accepted those mitzvahs that a person's seichel can accept, not necessarily agree. There's a key word here, soivlom, can accept. Hainu, oisom hamuvonis b'seichel, those that are obviously understood logically, v'oisom she'eno muvonis, including ones that are not understood, but we can accept. Aval koponim ein lohem stira mitzad ha'seichel. But they never accepted mitzvahs that are hepech ha'seichel. In other words, like this, what do you need a melech for? You obviously don't need a melech to run a country and to have a malchus in addition to those laws and chukim and ideas that also make sense. Because if they make sense, I don't need a melech. You just need a police force to enforce things that make sense. The idea of malchus is shibud. The idea of malchus is listening to the melech because the melech said so. But we usually hope when you have a melech that he's only going to say things that are not hepech haseichel. Even though there are things that we don't understand, we certainly know that the melech is mura mikol am, mishichmeu ma'ilo mikol am. He knows things that we don't know. Therefore, we're going to accept as a melech things that make sense to us and things that don't make sense to us. But we're usually not ready to accept, even from a melech, things that are hepech haseichel mamish. Mamish benigud to simple, regular logic of what a human being wants to accept. And we find that by every single melech and by every single country where there's a melech or a government, where do we go crazy? We go crazy by those laws that are hepech haseichel, and unfortunately there are many of them in the chukim of basar v'dam, of people, because they evolve for whatever reason. But the idea that there are laws that are l'mayla min haseichel, that makes sense. That's what malchus is. So when the Yidden were by Matan Torah and they were kabbalas hamalchus, they accepted things that make sense. They accepted things also that are l'mayla min haseichel, meaning that they don't make sense. But up until a stira to seichel, it's possible that the Eibishter looked at the Yidden and said, I never told them anything that makes no sense. Hepech haseichel, not just that makes hepech haseichel. Shenken a mitzvah she'aseichel afilu dikdusha menagid lahem harei efshe sheyoimru, the Yidden might say shemitzvahs koelu loy nichlulu bekabbalas malchus mitzvahs. When the Eibishter said Ani Hashem Alekeichem, we were never discussing those mitzvahs that are hepech haseichel. The ma'alim and haseichel, yes. And we're going to see soon why arayis is hepech haseichel. We're so used to the isur of arayis that we never stop and think, does arayis make sense? Not only does arayis make sense, the Rebbe is going to bring out beautifully how al pi seichel the kedusha, the most best person to marry is going to be those arayis that are awesome. makes the most sense who we should marry. And the fact that the Eibishter came along and said, don't marry them, not only don't marry them, Chayiv Kodesh, Chayiv Lavin, and all the Yonim that the Torah brings, like from the worst Avedis in the world, makes no sense. For the Eibishter now is going to introduce such type of mitzvahs, a category called Gzeira to the Yidden. Hashem starts off and says, Ani Hashem Adikeichem. You should know I'm going to give you mitzvahs that are hepech your seichel, because I know what I'm talking about. Not only arayis, there are other mitzvahs that are also hepech haseichel. Because I'm the one that said, Anochi Hashem Aleikeichem, v'kabaltem aleichem malchusi, v'kibaltem aleichem malchusi, and you accepted my malchus. Hainu, shekibaltem, al atzmechem l'kayim ha-mitzvahs, kein me'ato kabelu gzeirosa. You taka were mekayim ha-mitzvahs. You taka were meshabed yourselves to a melech. You taka were mekabel to do everything the melech says. But things that are hepech haseichel zoisle. Now I'm telling you, it's time to know that I'm going to give you gzeiros. Gama mitzvah shem beged gzeiros. What are those mitzvahs? Here the Rebbe says beautifully. Vatam tatziv al arayis nikroim gzeira. Why are arayis called gzeira? Dover muvenu. Shebenegel l'nisuin. When it comes to marriage, mailas hayuchsin tefeses mokem choshev veikri. Yichis, lineage of a person, is very important when it comes to marriage. If the person has a choshev yichis, all the more important. As we know, we learned and we saw that the Torah specifies the yichis of the wife of Aaron. Who was she? Shenoso es Elisheva, Basaminodov, Achois Nachshin, as the Rebbe is going to bring soon. That's how we know you have to be boidik ba'acheho. Why? Levayir, to teach us, she was a very choshev woman. Because the Torah says achos nachshin. Not only that, v'chein Avraham k'shesholach es Eliezer lakachas isha lebnei leYitzchak amalei. What did Avraham tell Eliezer? Ki el artzi vel meladiti teile. He goes specifically to my land, to my family, to my place where I was born. Velokachto isha livni leYitzchak. Ki bnois artzei umeladetoi miyuchosei sein. V'yosem mimishpachas Avraham, because they come from Avraham's mishpacha. So therefore, we see that the Torah gives a special chshivas to yichus. Now, in this paragraph, I want to add, it says here, "Ukimeshalamadnu v'ro'inu," as we were taught and we see that the Torah specified the yichus of Aaron HaKohen's wife. In the original, the Manichim wrote, "V'lochein motzinu shehaTorah haricha b'yichusa," and this is why we find that the Torah was meidich in the yichus of Aaron. The Rebbe changed it to "Ukimeshalamadnu v'ro'inu," just to explain what I think the reason is. Because how can the Rebbe say that that's why the Torah said Achois Alisheva Basaminodav Achois Nachshon? That's why, just to teach you Yichus? I don't know. Maybe there were other reasons that the Eibishter decided to write the Yichus of Elisheva Basaminodav Achois Nachshon. I don't know. But one thing we do know, that Yichus is important. So the Rebbe changed from Velochein Ukemoy Shalom, the Rebbe changed Velochein Motzinu Shahatorah, that this is why we find that the Torah says. So the Rebbe changed. If that's why, I don't know if that's why. That certainly we see from there. We learn from there the inyan of yichus. So the Rebbe changed from the Kamei Shalom Madnu, it says, to Kamei Shalom Madnu Viroinu. Says the Rebbe. Once we know that the Torah gives a tremendous chshivas to yichus, if you're a meyuchis, the biggest shidduch, the best shidduch, is to marry the one that has the same yichus as you. The closer the person is to you, if I'm the Chameyuchis, I need my wife to be the same Yuchis. In fact, we find this idea by Rebbe Mishpachas and other Mishpachas. They make sure to marry cousins, the relatives, obviously, that are mutter to marry because of this idea of Yuchis. So if you look at marriage and you look at what the Torah wants, the best person to marry would be your sister, the pashtus. I mean, it's ludicrous because we know that chas v'sholem, it's also, it's not teva oilam, b'chulu, b'chulu. But in a theoretical svara dike oifen, the closest person should be a grandmother, should be a mother, should be a sister, should be a daughter. To marry them, they're the biggest miyuchosim. They're the closest to me. Ubechlal v'ikir, tachlis hanisuyim. I want to tell you, from ubechlal v'ikir till in the middle of the next paragraph, The Rebbe wrote this whole thing b'ksav Yad Kodesh, what I'm reading now. It said it differently, and the Rebbe changed it and wrote the whole thing from what I'm going to read until the middle. I'll tell you when, until which words comes. The Rebbe wrote. So in addition to the fact that the shidduch, the parents, the chosen and the kala, the husband and the wife, if they're relatives, that's the tachlis hayichus, they should marry your closest relative. Not only that, mitzad the children, that's even more important. Because tachlis and nisuyim harei hu pru'urvu. V'nasu lebasar echad b'yaldeim. It says take v'dovak b'ishtei v'hoyu lebasar echad, but the basar echad is really basar echad superficially. Because they got married, so it's basar echad, but they're not really basar echad. But in their children, there's manish basar echad in the child. How do you move on? So zehu b'shleimus yesed, the shleimus of the basar echad through the child is kisha isha, hishaer b'sarei shaloish. If the wife is mamish, a close relative of the husband, of the father, obviously then the basar echad is betachlis hashleimus. And we find, says the Rebbe, b'dinei arayis napichu. The beginning of arayis, just the opposite. Ish el kol she'er b'sarei loy sikr. The Torah says something makes no sense. The Torah wants yichus. The Torah expects us to want yichus. The Torah, if he wouldn't say the arayis, we would all marry our closest relatives. And what does the Torah say? No, it makes no sense. On one hand, the Torah teaches us, etc. And then the Torah begins, you should know, take that off the table. The idea that you think, that I mean, that you should marry your closest relative because of yichus, lo yisikru. V'oid, bara HaKadosh Baruch Hu ha'olam, v'oifen, shekiyumai ha'yotoli bozeh, shebnei adam marishin yisu achayit shalem. Not only in theory does it make sense to marry the closest relative, the Eibishter created the world through marrying arayis, to marrying sisters, Cain and Hevel. That's one of the pshatim in the pasuk when it says chesed hu, va'ishal achoisei lo yisiko chesed hu. Why? Chesed osa HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Cain and Hevel were able to marry their sisters to continue on the kiyum of humankind. Also, Yankov nasa achoyos. Yankov married two sisters. Today's chitas. And nevertheless, v'hoisa mitosoi shleima dafke. Yankov was the one that was mitosoi shleima, all his children with tzaddikim, and he married achoyos. Amram nasa doidosoi. Against today's parsha, Amram married his aunt, which is one of the arayis, v'neildu, the greatest tzaddikim in history, Miriam Aram Lamesha. Shalpi calls that, based on the above, based on the fact that it makes sense that a shidduch should be called shereb sari, based on the fact that the tachlis of v'hoyu, the basar echad, makes sense when you marry your closest relative, based on the fact that the world only exists, Klal Yisrael, forget about the word, Klal Yisrael, only exists through arayis, through Yankov marrying sisters, and Moshe being what would be called a mamzer, bisman hazeh. Had Moshe been born after Matan Torah, he would be considered a mamzer. Nevertheless, but Yisrael del kol shei b'sarei, hu al derech, till this word Pirush Rashi the Rebbe wrote. So up until Pirush Rashi, everything we read from Bechlal ve'ikir up until Pirush Rashi the Rebbe wrote, al derech Pirush Rashi b'inyan ha'akedah. Rashi writes a fascinating line, Rashi in Akedah. It says, Avram Avinu says, Esmel amartali, you told me yesterday, ki b'yitzchak yikar lechazar. V'chazarta v'yamarta, and then you said, Kachnos bincha, take him up. Achshav ato imali, al tishlach yod chalanar. You're contradicting yourself, Eibishter. What do you want from me, Avram says? A minute ago, you told me ki b'yitzchak, then you told me I should take him on the Mizbeach. Now you tell me I should take him off. What's going on here? Makes no sense, right? This also makes no sense. The idea of arayis, Hashem is talking to the Yidden. I said, I know you're asking me, I know you're telling me that it's a stidim and eubeh. You're looking at your history, you're looking at the world, you're looking at Yankov, you're looking at Moshe Rabbeinu, you're looking at the fact that I said Basamin Sha'al, Lishev Basamin Oda, that there's yichus. You know that there's yichus. You know that the Gdei Yisrael married their closest relative, so to speak. And now I'm telling you, Ishi shall call Sheb Sodei. That's crazy. It's a gzeira, makes no sense. So Hashem says, yeah, me'ata kabul gzeira. I'm telling you, there are going to be mitzvahs that are hepech haseichel, and I'm starting now with harayis. That's not the only one, but I'm starting now with harayis. Now I'm starting with harayis. So before I teach you these gzeiras, Hashem says, now it's time. To teach you these in Yom. That's the basic teretz which the Rebbe answers so far most of the questions. B'kitzur will go through most of the questions. First question is, how come we don't learn it's the simple pshat nemel l'shalom schar and lipora, because it's a haschola of an inyan, it's not at the end of an inyan. Weren't they already the kabbalah, the mitzvahs about Torah was question based? The answer is no, not necessarily mitzvahs that are hepech haseichel. Why was it not before the first mitzvah? Because we never had yet a mitzvah that's a gzeira. That's why Rashi writes the word gzeira. And now we're holding by the next shilas of why Rashi brings two pshatim, why he brings the name, why he says lenatek, and why Rashi doesn't bring the story of Beichel and Mishpachesa when the Yidden were upset. When the Yidden were upset of Iske Mishpachas. This pshat is missing. That's why Rashi had to make a second pshat. What's missing? Although, and now is the first time Hashem is coming to tell the Yidden about the Gzeiris. And that's why there was no hechrech up on this point that the Yidden were mekabel Gzeiris. Mikol mokim, b'pashtus, v'yemasim yoseh, shebe'ez tzavoyse al kabbalas malchusay u'mitzvesa b'chlal, yitzave al kol sugi ha'mitzvahs gam ha'gzeiris. It's true. But why Taka didn't the Eibishter at Matan Torah also make the Yidden be mekabel malchus, mitzvahs, and gzeiris? Why? V'loma mechalkom l'beis tzivuyim u'bizmanim shenim. Why did the Eibishter split the idea of being mekabel malchus together with being mekabel mitzvahs and also being mekabel gzeiris? The Eibishter decided to wait to gzeiris to much later. Why? Something is fishy. It's hard to understand why the Eibishter did that. Yeah, it's true, he did it. But if we have another pshat that doesn't have this issue, Rashi will bring the second pshat. Beis, there were gzeiris. The Eibishter didn't tell the Yidden that, the gzeiris of arayis, but they existed in the world. Akoponim certain arayis, hakroivois beyoser. By the way, they ever wrote this ois base also. Hakroivois beyoser, those that are very close. Avoloi shtei achoyos v'doidosoi. Certain arayis were permitted, like two sisters, Yankiv, and marrying your aunt. Shegam zeh gzeirohi. It also doesn't make any sense for a ben noyach. And those mitzvahs they had to keep because of the Matan Torah nitoisfu lohem mitzvahs. Va'al kulam omru nase. Matan Torah Hashem added more mitzvahs, and the Yidden said nase va'al kulam on all the mitzvahs, the new mitzvahs plus the previous mitzvahs that they already existed in the world of the Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach, which one of them is arayis. The Yidden said nase, so they really did to some degree accept the gzeiris, especially the gzeiris of arayis, although it wasn't specific. The Eibishter didn't tell it to them yet. It never was specific that there's an inyan shel gzeira, but it did exist. So it's shver, number one, why would the Eibishter split it and wait till now? And number two, to some degree, it existed already earlier. Chaim, by the way, all the mitzvahs that we keep, we don't keep because they were before Matan Torah. The Moshe Bris Milo and Gidan Noshe, all those mitzvahs. And the Rebbe explains many times why we call it Bris Shel Avram Avinu, for not keeping it because of the Bris of Avram Avinu. We're actually keeping the mitzvah because we got it in Matan Torah. There are many biurim about these in Yonim. So Bechlal, we're mekayim these mitzvahs because we received them in Matan Torah. But Lepel Mamish, they had those mitzvahs and they accepted them even before they heard it, if they existed before. The kiyum, the mitzvah, the chiyuv is because of Matan Torah. Rashi is now an upshot. Shani Hashem Alikeichem. That it is a hakdama, different than what we said before. That it can't be an introduction for Neman l'Shalom Schar and Puroniyos. No, it is hakdama, and we'll see why it's different than the other places. It's take like it says everywhere else. Ani Hashem Neman l'Shalom Schar and Puroniyos. Why would here in this case it be in the beginning? The Rebbe said that was Rashi's hechrech, that it can't be that it's similar to the other places. The Eibishter wanted to say, what I'm telling you now is very important. Hashem is saying, I'm coming to you now with a gzeira. He's telling you, follow me. It's like, when the Eibishter gave us the mitzvahs, keep the mitzvahs. And then afterwards he says, make sure you keep them. But sometimes when you come to give a bombe, a very, very severe mitzvah, you start off and you say, by the way, pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm going to say now. I'm going to say something very, very important, very crucial. That's what this Ani Hashem Alikeichem is. Why? It's different. Hashem knows Soifon Lenatik Barayis, they're going to sin with Arayis, and we'll see soon Lenatik, worse than other Avedis. Arayis are worse than Stam doing Avedis. They even did many Avedis, unfortunately. But Hashem started off into this is serious business. This is serious. You should know who's the one geyser, the Eibishter. Da wissen, wo mich steht, von wem mich steht. Da in Lipora, wenn einmal Now, my time. Lama dafke barayis bo azorim yuchedes. Why dafke arayis? Does the Eibush to give a special warning beforehand? Make sure you listen. Rashi tells this to us by changing one word, and he says lenatik instead of likoshel, instead of lavet arayis. Arayis efshori v'goli lefon of shesef on yikin, the only aveda that we know that's possible. And the Rambam brings the barichas as the Rebbe is going to quote. And the Eibush saw that it's going to happen. Pagam godel shel nituk, to be cut off is only with arayis. Why? Lenatik pirushi litloish. What does lenatik mean? To pull out, to uproot. In fact, the Manichim wrote here first lachtoich, to cut. The Rebbe changed it to litloish, and he wrote the Maramokim Rei Rashi Emer Chav Beis Chav Dalad, where the pasuk says umouk v'chosuk v'nosuk v'chorus. The pasuk uses the word nosuk, and Rashi talks there about sirus of a behemoth, and Rashi uses the word there litloish. So that's why the Rebbe wanted to write litloish when it says lenatik, based on that Pirush Rashi that nituk means tlisha. It's time you could add maybe that tlisha is worse than chaticha. Chaticha, there's a connection, but you got cut off. Litlish is kilo lemafreya meikara, it wasn't there. Your oiker min hashoydish. What's that oiker min hashoydish? It's kilo, it wasn't there, which we'll see soon applies to arayis, because if someone chas v'shalom marries a shiksa, the child is lechatchila shayches. Lechatznapshat is someone that did an aveda, like a filo a yid that doesn't aveda, or even a ger that's chazal l'sura. Hot shayches, even though he was a goy, because he became a yid, he became a chelik melekei Yisrael. But if you marry a shiksa, the Rambam says it's litloish, it's kilu oiker min hashoydish. Maybe that's why the Rebbe changed it, in addition to the pasuk of pshat, because based on Rashi and the pasuk v'nosuk ulahafrid, and to separate umuvone kan lahafrid ben Yisrael avim shebashamayim. Arayis is so terrible that it separates somebody bavim shebashamayim with the shiksa only. A mamzer is a fil kedem, like mamzer talmid chacham is kedem like in God lamaret. So we're talking about that specific arayis. What the Rebbe will say, although it doesn't say it here. It says in the Nevuos there in Ezra what taka happened. The Rambam writes, famous Rambam, the Inyan of being boil a goy, marrying a goy, Mrs. Besden, even though there's no Mrs. Besden, although there's Kanoim Pegin Bay, but not Mrs. Besden, only B'Shas Ma'aser v'chulu, like the story with Pinchas. Al Yekal Beinercha, says the Rambam, don't take it lightly. Marrying a shiksa, there's a hefsid that doesn't exist anywhere else. If someone has a child, the child is a mamzer, but it's b'noi, and he's a yid, and like I mentioned before from the Mishnah, he's kain God lamoretz if he's a talmid chacham. It's not your son. It also takes a yid from being Acharei Hashem, but he's also not your child. It's not only api halacha. Rashi writes it over there. Lamadnu, from the pasuk of Kiyosir, Lamadnu sheben bitcha abo min anochri kori bincha. If your daughter marries a goy, it's still your child. Mother's a yid. Avo ben bincha abo min anochris ene kori bincha. Nituk only exists by arayis and a specific sug shel arayis, which is not mentioned here in this parsha. But the Eibush is starting the close inyan of arayis. The Eibush starts, I'm telling you, this is worse than other avedas. Other avedas, you're still my king. You're still a chelik to the Eibush. You're still connected to the Eibush. You can do tshuva, whatever. Can't change your mitzias, your status, but you can do tshuva. You could be king, the king God lamaretz. But arayis with a shiksa is menatik, tears away. The child is bechlal not bincho rachman l'islam. So the Eibush says, before I start arayis, you should know, here's where I'm warning you, and I know that soifam lenatik barayis, be careful. Because of the chaymer of this inyan, b'yodei, sheseifam laver v'lenatik b'mei esrei. The Eibush knew that l'poel mamish rachmanu l'tzlan, many yidden are going to transgress and do this aveda of creating nituk, kimesubra b'ksuvim, hutzrach lahazer al zeh b'yesr says. That's why Rashi didn't bring beichel imish b'chesov. Why not? That was plain arayis. Terrible the Aveda is. As terrible it is, it doesn't deserve an ani Hashem alekeichem before. It doesn't deserve ani Hashem alekeichem. Be careful. I'm telling you, such a terrible Aveda. There are many Avedas that the Eibush discusses. Afterwards, it says ani Hashem alekeichem. Ezra, that's why Rashi specifically uses the words unbelievable how the Rebbe teaches. That Rashi used the word lenatik, the stakid loshen medrash, it's true. But Rashi picks the word dafke lenatik, dafke Ezra, because Ezra and Nituk work together. Boichel and Mishpechaisav and Nituk don't work together. Avera and Boichel and Mishpechaisav work together. But that would not require the Eibishter L'Chayre to say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem in the beginning, like he never does anywhere else in the Torah. After the Parsha Zu, Le'nitztavu Adayin al Isur B'ilas Nachris. L'Chayre Takeshver Abisl. This is not the Parsha where it says the Isur of marrying a Goy. It's much later in the Torah. The Eibishter begins here to tell the Yidden about the Isra of Arayis. HaKoilo, which Arayis also includes Gam Aveda Zu, Hamanatekes me'akadosh Baruch Hu, this Aveda, which can cut a Yid off the Eibishter, from the Eibishter. After all of Yitztav Achkach B'yichud, although there will be a specific mitzvah. Therefore, the Eibishter begins to explain it. And the Rebbe just says, interessant, in the order he says that the Lashon of Rashi that he brings, Du'u mi goizer aleichem. And Lashon is, Du'u mi goizer aleichem is based on the word ani. Dayan lihipora is aleikeichem, which is midas adin. And Nedam, the Shal Eschar is Hashem. Ani Hashem aleikeichem, in a different order. The Rebbe explains why. In the order 32, it's a long order, we don't have time, but the Rebbe explains, it's mamish b'diuk, the Lashon Rashi of ani Hashem aleikeichem. Okay. Rashi should have brought only the second shot. It's beautiful. This pshat is not chad v'cholek, it's not smooth, and it's less smooth than the first pshat. That's why it's second. Now, when the Manichim wrote it, they wrote Einei Muvan called Tzorkoi leben Chomesh lemikra, and the Rebbe changed it to Einei chad v'cholek v'oid yoser min harishin. It used to say Einei Muvan called Tzorkoi leben Chomesh lemikra. And the Rebbe changed it to Einei Chad v'Cholok. It's not smooth. I didn't have time to figure out, it's a beer maybe, what the difference is, but the Rebbe is saying it's not smooth. There is one shverikai, one difficulty. The Eibishter says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, for something that's going to happen, not Boichel Mishpechaisav, I mean Ezra, Ke'elef Shonim, 1,000 years later. Number 2, it's not even mentioned here, the Aved of Be'el Aramis. That's why he brought the first pshat. Because this pshat is also shver that the Torah is saying divrei nevius for another zman. Although the Torah does that, many psukim are divrei nevius in the Torah, but that's taki pshut shel mikra. Here we have another pshat, so Rashi brings the other pshat first. But va'afal pikein, nevertheless, to remove this shverikite of l'chayre, why would we, that the Torah referring a posik being a hakdama for something that will happen much later? That's why Rashi brings the name of Rabbi. And in fact, so now we have the answer to all the other questions. Why he brings two pshatim, and why he brings the first one and not the second one, and why he says lenatik, why he doesn't bring beichel and mishpechaisav. And now the Rebbe is going with the final question that he brought in the middle was, why does he say Rebbe? Rebbe sidder v'kosav ha-mishnayis. Rebbe wrote the mishnayis. V'af v'churetz neged halacha. V'af shedvarim shebal peh iyata rashay lo'imram b'ksav. You can't write them. Kol makom we know, he tiro l'kreisum mishum eis lasis l'Hashem, hefedo terasecha, because as man came, eis lasis l'Hashem is a posuk in Tilim. Hefedo terasecha, we can sometimes be mefer the Torah, go against the halacha in order to keep the Torah eis lasis l'Hashem. Kivon, the loy efsher milikosev shenismayit halev, ha'Torah mishtakachas, because Torah was being forgotten, as Rashi says. So therefore, it was allowed, based on this posuk, to write down Torah shebiksa, Torah shebal peh. V'chein hefedo divrei Torah l'sho atzricha. Acharei, sherebi mefarish posuk hanemer al yedei David. Rabbi takes a pasuk that was said in Tilim, okay, through David HaMelech in Kapitel Kuf Yutes, and they used to say Tilim here, and the Rebbe added David, changed Tilim. You say Hanemer Betilim, the Rebbe changed Al Yedei David. David HaMelech wrote this, Shekoya Aksivus HaMishnah. Rebbe says that this pasuk, Eis Lasis Lashem, was said on something many, many years later. And the Rebbe says, no, it's true, we learn other things from Eis Lasis Lashem. Nevertheless, according to Rebbe, the Iker Limud, that this pasuk that David HaMelech says, Eis Lasis Lashem Hefedo Teresecha, meant to write down the Mishnah and the Gemara. Says the Rashi, so Rashi says, Rebbe Yomer, this is not a pellet, that's Rebbe's shita. This pasuk can actually mean as man Ezra. There's a ha'orah here, ha'orah 35. I know it's late, it's 10 o'clock, but we'll learn the Ha'ara. I think we could learn the Ha'ara together because it's very interesting. And you say this the Ha'ara. And as I heard from my father, he said it on one of the Shiurim, that the Rebbe wrote this whole Ha'ara mitchilosei v'ad soifa. So we'll learn it b'kitzur. It's really not negeya to the Sikha, but the Rebbe felt it necessary when he saw that he's writing in a Sikha, Rebbe Siddur v'kosav HaMishnayis, the word Siddur v'kosav. So there's a famous machlokes, did Rebbe actually write the Mishnayis? Or was Rebbe just misader the Mishnayis based on inyonim? He taught it. This is say the Zroim, say the Zikim, Kochim, and Tadas, and he repeated over those Mishnayis to the Chachamim, and each one made simonim to remember where something is supposed to be in his head, and it was only written in later generations. Big machlokes. So the Rebbe says like this, that it says here, Rebbe Siddur v'kosav, says the Rebbe in 35, Rambam b'aktamosa li'ad ha'chazokah, Mevoya Talmud b'shmul anogid b'tchilosei, Teisus read Gittin Samachadav Meiri Lo'ovis v'oid, that Rebbe actually wrote down the Mishnayos. Hine yesh emrim shel Rashi. I'm not going to go through every maramokim. Prekama sibis shel Rashi Shabbos Gimel Sukkah Chav Ches v'oid. Some say that Rashi holds Rabbeinu rak siddur HaMishnayos avoloi kosvom. Chini das Richagiz. The Rebbe says Richagiz taketainis. Rashi did not. Rabbeinu HaKodesh did not write the Mishnah. Yedu Ashakle v'Tari b'das Reb Shira Goyim be'igrosei b'beis hanuschos ba. Igeres Reb Shira Goyim, the one that's nafutz and publicized. There he says clearly that the Rebbe did write the Mishnayos, but there's a different nusach in the Igeres, the famous Igeres of Rishira Goyim, which they say the Rebbe writes it also, that the Rambam's hakdome to his Sefer Hayad is based on that Igeres of Rishira Goyim, where there it's mashma that Rebbe did not write the Mishnayos. Rebbe was only misader the Mishnayos, and it was written in later generations. According to those opinions that Rashi did not, that Rabbeinu HaKodesh, according to Rashi, did not write the Mishnayos, mechulek Rashi al kol anam. Rashi argues on the Rambam, argues on the Shmuel Anogid, and argues on the Teisus Ridin, on the Meiri, and everybody. Good. So the Rebbe says, number one, based on this, who did actually indeed write the Mishnah and the Gemara? Because those who say that Rashi holds Rebbe didn't write the Mishnah, they also want to tainer the vineyard of Rashi didn't write the Gemara either. They were just misader the Gemara, and they taught it. And later it was written up. So who did? Nobody knows. It's also interesting, says the Rebbe. All the poskim that bring about and talk about the history of Ksivas Hashas and Ksivas Hamish, nobody brings this Rashi. It's modern, it's weird, says the Rebbe, that according to this Yeshu Emrim that Rashi is arguing, like the Richagiz and others, nobody found this shit in Rashi. Says the Rebbe, although they have good diyukim in Rashi, Kama diyukim in Sukkah and in Shabbos, real diyukim from Rashi, that it was not written until later. The Gemara in Shabbos, I'll tell you what it says in Shabbos. The Gemara says in Shabbos, Tana Rabbanon, Mi Kosov Megillas Tainis. Who wrote Megillas Tainis? So Rashi says, why did they ask you who wrote Megillas Tainis? Because that was the only thing that was written. This is the Zman HaTanoim. The only thing that was written was Megillas Tainis. Nothing else was written. The Hosser Tmiyas Anal, says the Rebbe. I think the Deichek, to take off this kashas that I said, goes like this. Shesamach Rashi, Al Masher Kosav, B'Bab Mitziyah Pevav. Mitziyah Pevov, the Pirush Seif HaMishnah and Seif Heira. Rashi gives us who there was a man. The one Tana was Seif HaMishnah and one was Seif Heira. What's the pshat here? Rashi gives the whole yisoid of how the Seder Halimud went. That's what Rashi's ikashit is, and there it's mashma that it was written by Rebbe and also written the Gemara by Rav Ashi. After the Gisaseno Hizkir Kosav, it just says Siddur in that Rashi. But if you just add the word Kosav with Siddur, you see Rashi's mahalach. And if that's so, says the Rebbe, Rashi and Gittin Dawud Dvorim, it'll make sense with Rashi and Gittin, where it's mashma also that Rebbe wrote it, which would be a stira to the other one. So the Rebbe is going to get to the other Maram Mekayim soon. Well, the Maimer Chazal, there's a Maimer Chazal in Gittin that says the Rebbe and Rav Ashi have a Teira Gdula b'Mokum Echad. Rebbe and Rav Ashi both had Teira and Gdula. They were rich, and they were also equal in Teira. What was their equality in Teira? Because Rav Ashi wrote the Gemara and Rebbe wrote the Mishnayos. That's where Rashi says is Iker Shita. Okay. What about the other two places that the Rebbe mentioned before, the Maram Mekayim, Shabbos and Sukkah, where it seems that Rebbe did not write the Mishnah? He says the Rebbe like this: Ubahanal berashi Shabbos v'Sukkah medubar b'shem or b'sham Megillas Tainis ubeloshen shebeton Rabbanon. Rashi was explaining that Tonu Rabbanon over there, which was koidem haino bisman shekoidem chasimas hamishna de Rebbe. Rashi was explaining why was it called Megillas Tainis medubar b'shem. The Mishnah says there, Tana Rabbanon, Megillas Tainis Mikosva. Rashi says, why is it called Megillah? Because that's the only thing that was written. Yeah, because in that Tana Rabbanon, that was the only thing that was written. Because that Braisa was before Rabbeinu HaKodesh finished the Mishnah. That's why Rashi says that was the only thing that was written. Later, Rebbe wrote the Mishnah. The Gemara is a similar Gemara in Eidevin that says Megillas Tainis. That's the only thing that's written, and that was in the times of Amiroyim. Koyib is man Amiroyim. So how can I just say that Rashi only said Megillas Tainis was because it was before Rebbe? If the Gemara brings an Eidevin the same thing, when again this man Amiroyim says the Rebbe Yeshleim Rebbe Doichek Al Kaponim Shu Agav Grora de Toner Rabbanon Shabbos. Because we're talking about Megillas Tainis, which in the Toner Rabbanon of Megillas Tainis, it was before Rebbe was Mesader and wrote the Mishnayos. So therefore, we also continue with that same Lashon Agav Grora of Megillas Tainis, and we say that's the only thing that was written because there is such a brayso that seems that that's the only thing that was written. In truth, there were many things that was written, but it's like Hoyel v'nofik mipume derav, because that's what clearly was mentioned in the Gemara in Shabbos, and the only thing that was written. So the Gemara in Erev and even Bisman Amiroim chooses that b'doichet in order that it shouldn't be a stira with Rashi. Weiter. Now, Ksubis is not clear the Maramokim, but it seems to me that it says there, Amar of Ami, that it says you're not allowed to have a Sefer She'eni Muga Bebeisoi. And Rashi says, what's a Sefer She'eni Muga? Teira, Nevi'im, Ksubim. It's weiter, mashma from Rashi, but you're allowed to have a Mishnayis that's not Muga. Of course you can't have a Mishnayis. You can't have any Sefer that's not Muga. So why does Rashi touch Teira, Nevi'im, Ksubim? Because there was nothing else written in that time. It's another raya that at the time already of Rabbi Ami, in that Kufa, there was nothing else written. And Al Derech Zeh and Bob Mitzia, that's very clear in Rashi that it wasn't written. The Gemara says like this: the Brayse Tan Rabbanon, if someone learns Mikra, Midah ve'ena Midah, it's good but not the best. Mishnah is better, Gemara is even better. And Rashi explains why is Mishnah and Gemara even better? Because you have to chazer that. Because since it wasn't written down, you have to chazer Mishnah. Mishnah Rebbe was Mesader. Why do you have to chazer? Because it's not written. Mikra you always have. You have a Beklaf, you have a Sefer Torah. Mishnah you have to chazer, Gemara you have to chazer. So therefore, that's better because you always chazer it. So you see clearly here from Rashi that Mishnah and Gemara wasn't written. That's what Rashi explains. And the Gemara says in the Peil, the Braisa finishes off, the Peil you should always learn Mishnah. For the Gemara, how it's a stira. If it says Gemara is best, so why do you have to learn Mishnah? The Gemara says B'mei Rebbe Nishnas Mishnah Zu. The first part was B'mei Rebbe. And then Yidden started to kachzach in Gemara, they forgot the Mishnah. So therefore, in a later time, they added to that Braisa, you should go back to Mishnah. That's what it says there in the Gemara. Says the Rebbe Yeshleimar, the Kivan Shoyi B'mei Rebbe. Since this wasn't the times of Rebbe, now the story in Ksubis is not in the times of Rebbe, it's Rebbe Ami, but it could be what the Rebbe means. It was the Tkufas, early Tkufas of Tanoim Amiroim, Nokat Milsa de Pshite. Why do we say Mikra, a person could learn easily, and the other things, Mishnah and Gemara, you have to chazer because it's not written? Because at that time, the only thing that was certainly written at the time, Tkufas B'mei Rebbe, let's say before he finished the Mishnah, was only Mikra. The only thing that was Vadai Kosov was Mikra. Mishnah Gemara was not Vadai Kosov. Maybe the Rebbe also means it wasn't Vadai Kosov for everybody. Not everybody necessarily had it. So therefore, the Gemara said, therefore it's better, the Gemara says, because you have to, the Braisa says, because you have to learn it over and over. Not that Rebbe didn't write the Mishnah. We picked the Braisa, which was B'mei Rebbe during Rebbe's lifetime, which then he didn't write the Mishnah yet. The only thing that was Vadai Kosov was Mikra. But really, Rebbe actually wrote the Mishnah. So it's not clear how the Rebbe would answer the Ksubis Yutes if that's the Maramokim, Teira Nevi'im Ksubim, or that whole Klodos HaTkufa. And actually Gemara certainly wasn't written yet in the times of Rabbi. Oh, here the Rebbe comes with a big chiddush. Or it could be that even if the Mishnah was written and the Gemara was written, because the Cha'erev, Maimer HaMuzgit, once Rebbe paskened already, Eis Lasos Lashem Efeiru Teira Secha, Mistama they wrote Gemara already also. It just wasn't our Gemara. But everybody who had a svara, every discussion in the yeshiva was already written. Elamai, Ravina, Ravashi came, and they were Seif Chachmei Talmud, and they were Pesach, and they finally set the whole Gemara, and this is what Teira Shabal Peh, a likut of the whole Teira Shabal Peh. But the Pashtus, from after Rebbe, everybody wrote Gemara. Every Amoida who was in yeshiva wrote down Gemara, because it was mutter. Why was it also? Eich Lasis Lashem, Efeiru Teira Secha. The Rebbe made in the Kivot. They still learned in the Beis Medrash Bal Peh. Kivon the Efsher. Since you're able to learn Bal Peh, if you're one of the Chachamim, Shuv Cholad Roshus Razal, Dvarim Shabal Peh, Yatarasha Lo Imram Biksav. What does that mean? Only someone who needs to learn Min Aksav has to learn Min Aksav. If you're a Tal Chacham, you're not allowed to learn Biksav. Ukishachol Sofik, if they had a Sofik, Yotzu leaders B'Sefer. They went out to look in a Sefer, K'meshikosu B'Achrenim, Ve'in Kam Mekoyim. Pashtas, because there are Achrenim that time, they say it under some Sefer's Rebbe, Reb Nosson Adler. Reb Nosson Adler never wrote any of his Chidush Torah down because he claimed, because he was such a Talmud Chacham and such a genius, and he didn't forget his Torah, it was also for him to write down any Torah Shabbat Peh. Ad kedei kach, they have his Sforim and he makes little simonim, little lines of Nosson Adler makes, and you have to figure out what was his kasha and what was his teretz, because he didn't want to write it because dvarim shebal peh iyaterasha the question miksav, because he held of this shita that if it's efshir it's also, so the Rebbe Tain is no raya. Avada it was written at that time, but still yes that the pashtus efshir, so you're going to chaz it again and again. Therefore, it's better. I learned this order because this order the Rebbe wrote, and it sheds light on the Rebbe's shita on this inyan. Lamrois, there's a letter from the Rebbe earlier in Tafshin Chav Ches. It's in Chelek Chofei in Igros Kodesh, where the Rebbe writes, someone who asked the Rebbe, "What's your opinion on this machloikis?" And the Rebbe said, "It's taka machloikis kanire," and it's possible the reason for the machloikis is that Rashi didn't see the yigeres of the Shira Goyim. He didn't see that letter, which basically the Rambam is miyasid his hakdome to Sefer Ayadan, because Rashi was further away. So could be that's why Rashi was of the shita that Taka Rebbe was only misad in Mishnayos, and the Rebbe said we shouldn't be machnis rishenu bein haorim agdoilim between these two great rishenim and poskim, the Rambam and Rashi. So there the Rebbe's mahalach is that it's Taka machloikis. But here, which was much later, when the Rebbe was makia the sikha, the Rebbe seems to want to learn that actually Rashi holds clearly also like the other rishenim that Rebbe was also wrote the Mishnah. Ayasha koyach. Thank you very much for listening. Should be a chizuk that everyone should continue learning the sikha with the proper chayis and the proper ion, as we see so many ha'oris written in kol many inyonim and shilas and kashis on the ha'oris, and which is what the Rebbe wanted. The Rebbe used to complain by the Fabrengens, how come nobody asked this kasha, nobody asked that kasha? Everybody kaviyochel took it, so to speak, sitting down. I just want to be meisif. One Fabrengen that I remember popped into my head now. The Rebbe Fabrengen, what's the whole Fabrengen? And part of the Fabrengen, the Rebbe spoke something political about the United States, the president or something. And the next Fabrengen in Tov Shalamet, the Rebbe complained, as mit gerät a ganze Fabrengen, shoyes api shoyes, and what were the Bochrim kochen sich in? The 15 minutes was sich gerät wegen President Johnson. The 15 minutes that I spoke about President Johnson, that's all we were koching. So we always koch a lot of zaitik in yonim, that the Rebbe said, and minhogim, but the Rebbe really wants us to koch sich in his Torah, in the things that he said, in Chidushim, and in Maimorim, and the Chassidus, v'chulu, and noch einmal a yasher, to all those that are managing and running this project.